Hey everybody, today we are debating whether or not the atheist experience was fair to rationality rules, and we're starting right now. Right now. Hey everybody, stoked to have you here. Oh, it's been a long day, but I'll tell you, this is going to be a big event. There are a couple of reasons. We announced on Twitter, I'm excited about this and I want it to be fully transparent. My main man, Godless Engineer, he is going to hold me accountable. He doesn't even know it, I just told him this now, but basically, we had promised that all of the super chats from this dialogue tonight will be donated to the Alzheimer's Research Fund for a Cure. So we are dead serious about it. I'm going to email the receipt to Godless Engineer, and that way people know that there's full accountability, that we follow through with that promise. So that's one thing I want to mention. YouTube takes 30% of the super chats, but nonetheless, like theoretically, just for easy numbers, if there are $100 worth of super chats, is not common, but theoretically, if it happened, YouTube, like I said, they take $30 out of that. We will give $70, and I will then give $30 to bring it back up to the original amount. So when I say that we're giving all of the super chats, I mean 100% of the super chats value will be donated to the Alzheimer's Fund. So we're excited about that, and that's something that I think is just important because it's true, we disagree on all sorts of things on this channel. That's the nature of the channel. And this topic is especially heated, but we're going to say, hey, there's at least one thing we for sure still agree on. Hopefully everybody appreciates the Alzheimer's Search for a Cure Foundation. So life gives you lemons sometimes. It's a big heated controversy, but we are making lemonade with those lemons. So we are glad to have you here, whether you're atheist, Christian, Muslim, Jedi, or even Sith. We're thrilled to have you. So if this is your first time here, consider hitting that subscribe button. There's got a lot more debates coming up we're excited about. Just booked one with David Wood from apologetics, basically from one of the more controversial forms of apologetics. He'll be defending his style of apologetics. We're confirming the date yet, but we're excited for that one. Want to introduce our speakers. We're not taking any more time. So thank you very much for our speakers being willing to dialogue today. We're stoked for this. Thanks to Godless Engineer for being willing to co-mod, as I'm going to try to do my best to gather all of your questions from the live chat. So if you have a question for one of the speakers toward the end, just put @moderndaydebate, and then I will take those questions that you have for whatever speaker or both speakers, and we will add that to the list that Godless Engineer and I will take turns reading at the end. So with that, Godless Engineer, if you want to get our speakers started, as you know, it's a civil discourse. I'm going to switch over to the live chat. And last thing I was going to mention, if you do have a super chat, it also goes to the very top of the list, and it allows you to make a comment towards one of the debaters. If you want to insult Tom based on, who knows, maybe the way he dresses, you can do that in your super chat. So Tom is just kidding, buddy. Tom, by the way, Tom's picture I just noticed is switched in the border right now. Sorry about that. Godless Engineer, if you want to take over and get our debaters started, thanks for being here. Everybody's links are in the description. So Red and Tom and Godless Engineer, I'm putting their links in as we speak. Thanks for being here, everybody. And Godless Engineer, thanks so much for helping out.
All right, heathens. Well, today we're here to talk about whether or not the ACA was fair to rationality rules. And as you can tell, Red Vencher is in the affirmative, while Tom is in the negative on the question. So I don't know who wants to go first, guys, but I don't know. Somebody start us off here with a statement or a question or something.
All right. Well, Tom wanted me to kind of lay out a little bit of the timeline of what we're talking about. So, Rationality Rules, excuse me, released a video about transgender women in sports about end of March or so. And then Faithless Forum came up, and afterwards, a group of them went up to the ACA to guest host on Talk Heathen and the Atheist Experience. And So after that was done, there was some backlash, and the ACA put out a statement, apologizing for having Rationality rules on because of his controversial video. And so beyond that, there's been some responses and stuff going this week, but I think for the most part, we're going to be talking a lot about the response from the ACA tonight. So,
all right, cool. So just to give you my position. So my position is that nothing that Rationality rules said was transphobic, and what the ACA did was wrong. There is a difference between having a bigoted belief and having a belief that's based on reasons which may be wrong. If Rationality rules was just judgmental or bigoted against trans people, then what the ACA did would have been completely justified. But he's not. All he did was he accurately presented his beliefs and the reasons why he believed them. Now, the fact that he was wrong about those beliefs doesn't make him bigoted. To be bigoted against a group of people means that you just dislike them for no reason, but that wasn't his position. He has genuine beliefs based on genuine reasons, and he presented those into the public discourse so people could criticize them. And people who know more about the issue did criticize him and corrected him, and he honestly admitted that he made mistakes. And because of that, it was wrong to deplatform him or demonize him as transphobic when all he's doing is presenting his beliefs and why he believes them to be able to be corrected on them. So the response by the ACA to demonize him was immoral. It was not appropriate at all. And what they should have done is what they should have said was what Rationality rules said was incorrect, and we disagree with his position. But as far as we can tell, he isn't in any way bigoted or transphobic. He just has incorrect beliefs which are not factually supported, and we would like to invite him on another time to talk about these issues. They should not have said he was transphobic, and they should not have tried to or said they would have deplatformed him if he didn't correct himself. That is horribly immoral. It's like saying the Clergy Project. In the Clergy Project, there are people who are Christians, who are pastors, who stop believing. And they have to be terrified every day that that's going to get out because they're going to be demonized and lose their jobs and their livelihoods because of other people judging them based off what they believe. And in this situation, it's the exact same case where people on the progressive left, for lack of a better term, are going to demonize you and deplatform you if you happen to have certain beliefs which disagree with their position. And that's horribly, horribly immoral. As long as you're being honest and you're accurately representing your position and the reasons you believe them, and it's not just for bigoted reasons, you actually have some kind of factual reasons like Rationality rules did have, and you present them in the public, and then they can be corrected, and then you change your position based on the better reasons. That's completely honest. That's exactly what we should have in the moral discourse. And so denying Rationality rules the right to come on a show or deplatforming him or demonizing him simply because he happened to believe something contrary to what you believe is horribly immoral, and they should not have done so.
all right. I'm going to have to correct this. I got the ACA statement right here. And if you don't mind, I'll read it off because the way you described what they said and putting out this statement just doesn't reflect reality. So I'm reading it right from there. The statement from the ACA Board of Directors. Recently, the ACA Board of Directors was made aware that a guest co-host, Stephen Woodford, YouTuber Rationality Rules, had made ignorant and transphobic videos and statements on his social media platforms. Weeks leading up to his appearance on the ACA shows, we would like to make it clear that we do not share or condone his opinions or attitudes, and that we fully and actively support equal rights for the LGBTQIA+ community. We acknowledge that the ACA did a poor job showing our support by allowing Mr. Woodford to make appearances on our show without either addressing his controversial views on air or asking him to refrain from appearances until he released a clarifying statement on his channel. We also failed to communicate our feelings and intentions in a timely manner to our volunteers and fans. We sincerely apologize for the pain and anguish our failings have caused our viewers, volunteers, and our ACA family all over the world. We love the trans community and are deeply distressed to have caused anyone harm. We have let you down, and we intend to do our best to earn back your trust. The ACA is working quickly and diligently to ensure that this kind of mistake does not happen again. We'll be coordinating with hosts, co-hosts, and staff to communicate any potential issues with a guest well in advance of when they are set to appear on the ACA production. The ACA will not knowingly allow the ACA production or publication to be used in a manner that's inconsistent with our mission and position statements. We would also love to hear from you, our ACA family. If you have any ideas or feedback on how we can do better, please email us at email. Sincerely, the Board of Directors of the atheist community of Austin. So nothing in there was demonizing Stephen as transphobic. All right, they mentioned his video as being transphobic, and a couple other statements. I assume those refer to some of the Twitter remarks or whatever he made after he released that video. And it's kind of standard apology. They're, like they said in there, they shouldn't have let him on, or if he came on, what would have been best for both parties would have been if he had given that Twitter, hey, I'm going to correct this, I made mistakes, I'm sorry for the harm and stuff caused there on there, that he released on Twitter. We probably wouldn't be seeing the statement or anything else after there. There's other things that happen afterwards that are issues with what the ACA did, not consistent with what they released as a statement, flubs that way. But I guess the big difference is whether or not we're going to agree on Rationality Rules' video being transphobic or not. And
right. So that's my objection, is that they called it transphobic and nothing he said was transphobic. So essentially they're accusing him of doing something that is transphobic.
All right. Well, so I got a couple of key quotes from that video that I think fit the transphobic narrative. So in talking about the eighth place finisher in the CAC race against a couple of trans girls, he says, so here we have a very real example of a young, talented woman losing a potential scholarship and a career to this issue. All right. So this gets in before he makes any arguments for it and the likes like that. And two other big ones in there. And I'm convinced that unless
you're saying that was transphobic?
No, I'm laying out a case, not each individual thing. All right. So in these other things, and I'm convinced that unless quickly rectified, this will kill women's sports. So this is in reference to transgender women competing with women. I don't want to see the day when women's athletics is dominated by Y chromosomes, but without a change in policy, that is precisely what is going to happen. All right. So the issue is the fear-mongering in this thing here. We can swap out whether or not this is an equal comparison there, but we swap out black for the trans in the situation and whites for the women. I mean, every one of us here would recognize that as a racist statement. Now, I'm not saying that Rationality Rules is transphobic for saying this, right? Lazy, poor research, made a lot of factual mistakes and brought to the conclusion here. But that does not change that this anti-trans rhetoric and fear-mongering would fit well under transphobia, right? It might just be it's honest mistake, stuff there. But I mean, this is different from making an opinion or arguing for that. He's arguing for action as well in this piece. So that's where the claims of transphobia come from with that video. I don't know.
All right. So my position is there's nothing transphobic about that. He just has a false belief. Like if you believe one demographic of people is significantly faster than another demographic of people, that they have separate categories of competing systems, like you have male sports and women's sports. And if someone has the physicality of the male sports because of a biological condition, then it would make sense to put them into the male sports because they will in fact dominate the women's sports. Like if that was true, then his concern raised would be true. So that's not transphobic. He has a misconception about the facts. And if that misconception is true, then his position is justified. So it's just an error. There's nothing transphobic about that. Like there's a difference between a phobia and having a bigoted viewpoint against some demographic and just being factually incorrect about certain things. Those are not the same thing, and you can't treat them as if they're the same thing.
And we're talking specifically about this rhetoric here. I mean, it's false. He's admitted it's false. You've accepted it's false. All right. And it's the framing of it. There's ways to have this conversation without the fear mongering. All right. And this is what they say is inconsistent with their beliefs, right? This isn't necessarily a discussion about the science or anything wrong. We both accept that the stuff in his video was wrong. But this is what they're viewing as transphobic. This is what they're viewing here. And, if their mission is, hey, we stand with trans and the LGBTQ community, we're going to, that doesn't fit with what we have. We have this person on the air after saying this stuff, And so that's what they're saying. They're apologizing to the fans and stuff, right? The people there that are affected by this video, these views. and that way. So it's not, demonizing him as evil for having, a false belief or anything like that. It's about apologizing for not living up to their standards. So that it would be a difference, say, if it was like the Non Sequitur show or here on Modern Day Debate, where you're willing to talk about anything, no matter what, just about, right? When you come on there, it's, you're not breaking any promises you're making to anybody else by bringing somebody on that way. So this is them, corporate holding up to this position. And, like I said, there's mistakes they made in between, and this is what they had to do to fix a mistake, or attempt to at least.
Can I please? Sorry. I know James didn't want me to butt in, but there is some actually factual misinformation in what Red said here, because the ACA, the board, like several members of the board and everything like that, met with Rationality Rules prior to his appearances on their shows and talked with him about his video before appearing on the shows. So just to set the record straight, factually, that is the actual events of what happened. It wasn't after they appeared on the show. He appeared on the show. They they reviewed his video and decided it was bad. Just to set the record straight.
Yeah, and I don't have the other stuff. I figured they would. Jamie Boone's one of the members on the board and knows those guys and with the Faithless Forum guys. So, he would have known about the video. I'm not saying that they didn't or anything like that. So, and I think, if they knew ahead of time, the two options they give in their apology are things that they should have considered with them before that, instead of having him go on and then make this statement later, right? Because it looks like, I agree with a lot of people. It looks like a stab in the back or throwing them under the bus. So, mistakes were made and they had to correct them for letting him on with the video.
And that's another thing I'm objecting to. I'm saying, no, they were not in any way in the wrong in letting him on. The fact that he had a viewpoint that disagrees with some narrative doesn't mean that it's okay to deplatform him. That's wrong. He didn't have a bigoted viewpoint. Nothing he said was bigoted. Nothing he said was transphobic. All he did was express his point of view based on the evidence he knew about of what he believed. It's totally immoral to demonize him for that. It's totally immoral to try and keep him off the show because some people interpret that as being derogatory when it's not. That's just his honest viewpoint based off the evidence. And of course, his evidence could be wrong, and that's totally fine, but you can't demonize him for that. The correct approach is to say, we disagree with his position. We'll actually talk with him about it on the show sometime and challenge those positions, but you shouldn't deplatform or demonize because he disagrees with a certain narrative. That's right. Totally immoral.
You're using a lot of loaded language there with demonizing. They weren't demonizing him, all right? Your view that it wasn't transphobic isn't going to be the same that what everybody else is recognizing it as, all right?
Obviously.
Yeah, well, but if they're up, the trans population and the fans and stuff, the ACA that get this stuff, see this guy on here who made this anti-trans video, lazily researched. Lazily researched. And so I think part of the issue here isn't just, hey, I have this opinion, I come to this conclusion here, is that he's producing a piece of content to be persuasive and change people's minds, which is a factor that's ignored here. And when it's bad like that, it's not, it's one thing to make a counter argument to, say, an argument for the existence of God, right? And flub that. It's another thing to come out and make an argument, an argument for taking action against a group of people and the mistakes in their stuff. So it's not intentional. It's not, none of that is what I'm saying, but the effect is still there of spreading anti-trans rhetoric and all this other stuff. And so with their view, that's, that's inconsistent with what they say their mission statement is, right? And so it's just a corporate, hey, we screwed up. Now there's other screw ups like, when GAG brought up that they knew beforehand before this, so them saying that they didn't know and was made aware, there's mistakes there, and then continuing to release clips from when he was on after this statement, as a flub on their part, right? So it lends itself to being dishonest in how they handle it, right? So I see it from that end, but yeah.
All right,
I
so
mean,
again, the statement where it says he made transphobic videos and remarks, that labels him as a transphobe. That is derogatory. That's kind of how the words work. I don't know
no,
why you're trying to interpret that as saying it's not. That's literally what the words mean.
no. So here's an example. Do you think it's possible to say something transphobic, racist, not just from ignorance and not knowing it, and
Of
say it,
course.
hey, you're corrected on it. All right. So this is what
Can
they're
you?
saying
You're
about
a
the
little
video.
quiet. Can you move
Nope.
closer to your mic a little bit?
Sorry about that. But that's what they're saying about the video. If you can agree that we can say anything transphobic, racist, misogynist, whatever, and not be that thing, it's a mistake or anything like that, and that's something that can be said and done, right? That's what they're saying about it, right? Turning this into a demonization of rationality rules is not, what's being conveyed here, right? It's a lot of loaded language to, in my opinion, fit some people's narrative.
Well, if I said you made a transphobic video, I mean, what's the instant response of how 99% of everyone who hears that statement is going to interpret that? What do they think that's going to mean?
What do you mean, the fans and stuff?
Like anyone who's listening, if I said you made a transphobic video, I mean, what are they going to interpret that to mean about you?
Well, at the very least, I made a bad video. It may mean that they interpret that I am transphobic, but it's
Right.
not. So this, with trying to hammer hard on the demonization for that word there, and then to kind of whitewash rationality rules' video is a bit hypocritical on this part, and that's part of the what I
What do you
see
mean?
with the discussion around this. Well, so you're willing to grant charity to rationality rules' video, right? And so don't deplatform them, don't demonize them, all this other stuff, but you're not willing to grant the charity to the ACA that's just issuing a stock corporate apology for a mistake they made. I mean, it's literally what it reads. You can find these all over the place in the corporate world when something messes up.
Right. So rationality rules didn't just say that he has this view, this person or this demographic is bad in some way. He said, I want this conclusion because of these facts. Now, if the ACA presented a factual response and said, he's transphobic for these reasons, or this was transphobic for these reasons, here's why, here's a list, and they could then cite those as making it actually transphobic, then there would be a reasoned response to use that word. But if they're just labeling someone as being transphobic or labeling a video as being transphobic, that's more of like a bigoted response, like saying, we don't like this person is bad. So there, in the case of rationality rules, it's a reasoned position based on evidence, even if it's bad evidence. But in the case of the ACA, it seems more like they're just being bigoted against him because they had a conclusion he didn't like.
So you're
So,
treating
like,
this. You're treating like this statement is meant as a refutation of rationality rules of stuff. It's not. It's an apology to the trans members of the community for not doing well, right? So expecting that kind of thing in a video in a response like that is you're not getting that from any kind of statement like this, right? So then turns
right, but
just demonizing them. It's ridiculous.
well, again, they said they were, if they had reconsidered, they said they should not have allowed him on the show. And
That's
if you're
right.
not going to
With that
allow
state,
someone on your show, that's a demonization. You're saying they're not good enough, or there's something wrong with this person that we wouldn't want them to be on our show for some reason. That's a demonization. You were
no,
inherently putting them down below the level of someone you would want on your show.
when someone says something that's inconsistent with your values and you bring them on, right? That's that's you turning against your values, right? So whether or not we ever come to an agreement on his video and the things he said in there and the fear mongering and stuff was actually what it was, transphobic or not, it's not demonizing to say, hey, we shouldn't have let him on the platform unless we're going to address it, give that simple apology. If by that point in time he had changed his mind and said, you know what, I screwed up, and he mentioned it on the hair, I'm coming out with a correction video and that stuff there, right? That would have been the better way to go for everybody involved, right? Have him on and then turn around and say back, say, hey, you screwed up, shouldn't have had him on, is, mistakes were made, and that's why they need to issue this apology, right? Not saying they did him fair by him that way. So,
Well, if you're admitting they didn't do him fair in that way, that would kind of be the whole point of the debate, is that, yeah, they didn't do him
I didn't
fair.
agree to this debate topic. I didn't agree.
Oh.
I told you before this, we discussed this, and to say this, I'm defending the affirmative that they treated him fair. This is just, I'm here to kind of decharge some of the language around this statement. This is a stock corporate apology. That's what it is to the fans. All right. Everybody running around, it's demonizing, it's the Inquisition, they're abandoning rationality, they're, you know, all these other things, right? To demonize something that's just, hey, we screwed up, should have done better. Right? The fact that they brought him on and then did that thing when they knew it advanced, right? That's a mistake on their part, right? If they did the right thing from the start, they wouldn't have had to issue this apology, and it doesn't give the ammo that, hey, we're persecuting them. And then the stuff afterwards, you know, the releasing more videos and clips and stuff there, that was another mistake on their part. But this demonizing and deplatforming stuff is way beyond the scope of what this is here, right? This is your crusade for something else, not what I've come here to discuss. Right?
Okay, so you agree that the way they phrased their apology was unfair to rationality rules?
No, it was unfair that they had him on and then send an apology out. Had to do it when they knew about the videos in advance. They had discussion, members of the board, like G mentioned, right? But to treat this as something that it's not is the big issue here that I'm trying to argue for, right?
Okay, so if like a show you admire, a part of your community, allows you on the show and then says, you made racist videos and we shouldn't have let you come on the show until you corrected your mistakes, your errors, wouldn't you interpret that as a demonization of you? Wouldn't most of the people listening say, oh, maybe we shouldn't watch this guy anymore because he has these bad views? Wouldn't that be a reasonable interpretation of those words?
No, right? I don't see that as a reasonable interpretation of the words, right? It looks like that there's some issues behind the scenes that need to be sorted out and better prepared. This is a simple, hey, he had controversial views that were, you know, if you don't want to say transphobic, bordered on it at least, right? That goes against what we stand for and who we're paired with, right? So this is what this is for. It's to say, hey, we screwed up to the fans, right? Now, a lot of the people don't agree, obviously, with it. There's a lot of backlash and a lot of stuff that they're having issues that are PR nightmare over other things on how they're handling stuff. But this statement is not the demonization. It's not the Inquisition, right? To keep laying it up that way.
All right, they're not intentionally trying to harm rationality rules. I agree that they're not like out to get rationality rules. The problem is that the way it's interpreted by any English speaker who reads it is going to naturally come to the conclusion rationality rules is transphobe, and they shouldn't have had him on a show because those are the two things it says. So the way they phrased it, even if it wasn't intentional, is a demonization of him. Even if it's like a corporate try to make up for their mistakes, it's still going to hurt rationality rules. And so it does throw him under the bus, even if it isn't an intentional kind of a thing.
You know, it's, you know, they make pretty clear, right, that, hey, you know, we needed a clarifying statement, right? Like I said, bring it on, talk about it. That's what they should have done, right? Out of all the things, right? And if he hadn't changed his mind yet and he said he was still going to stand behind him, then you don't put him on, right? The fact that they didn't apologize, it looks bad, but that's going one step too far. That they're purposely trying to demonize them over it.
Oh, right. I agree. I can see that point. They are not purposely trying to demonize him. They're just being a corporate entity trying to make an apology to appease their fan base. But what they did demonize him. It did have a negative effect on him. It did inadvertently call him a transphobe and say that they should not have had him on the show, which is demonizing to him, whether they meant it or not.
Well, then the argument's going to be made that his video that was demonizing of trans people, right? What are you going to stand up for in your values, right?
Right. So then I would say, no, it's not.
We're here to say this about that. It's the reaction to this just isn't, you know, level-headed or sensible on that side to say, hey, ACA is, you know, all super bad here. They made mistakes, right? If you're going to go and say, hey, Rationality made mistakes here, hey, let's give them a chance here, but you're going to say, no, this is the Inquisition and all this other stuff, and they're abandoning rationality for dogmatic things like Rationality Rules said, right? So that was his mistake to come out here and just say, yeah, bad video, I'm collecting, I'm going to do it, clarifying all that stuff, right? And just accept it as that, but to turn around and play the victim.
What was his mistake?
What was the thing? This is dogmatic and they're abandoning rationality and stuff in his response video to this thing.
Right, that was a little hyperbolic. I would agree with you that they weren't just completely going against him specifically. It was just a corporate response. You're right that was just a corporate appeasement of the people. I totally agree with you there. So yes, he was being hyperbolic when he said that. But the problem is that it still hurt his reputation when they did, and they did that really badly.
Well, then the argument is that them having an issue with the video he put out hurting his reputation. Wouldn't the better argument to be to go say, hey, well, you put out a bad video like this, your reputation should be hurt, right? Not necessarily by them, but just in general from this. But then to turn around and bemoan that, hey, this bad video, this, in my view, transphobic video, and yours not, but you know, that video being out, yeah, that's going to hurt his reputation. He put that argument out in the thing, right? So to complain about saying, hey, yeah, we shouldn't have had him on if he wasn't going to clarify his statements on this thing, right? And if we did have him on, he should have clarified them on air, right? Those are the two things they said, hey, that's what we could have done better. You know, and then complaining, well, that demonizes him here. They're not intentional. It's not any of that stuff either that, but still that's demonizing here and this is wrong. It's like, I don't get where you're trying to go with this.
Right. So in my introduction, it's the point I illustrated. There's a difference between having a bigoted belief where you're demonizing someone just because you don't like them, or in this case, in order to try and make virtue signaling pity points for corporate to appease your fan base. There's a difference between that kind of bigotry and demonizing someone and just having a wrong belief.
Right.
Rationality Rules just had a wrong belief. The corporate didn't have a wrong belief. They deliberately said that, which hurt Rationality Rules, even if it wasn't intentionally, because they wanted to appease their fan base. There's not a rationale behind that. They didn't actually research this to try and figure out whether it was transphobic and find out the videos, plural, which is only one, or tweets that he said that were transphobic. This was just said in order to appease their fan base, and it happened to throw Rationality Rules under the bus. That was purely a judgmental thing to do, whereas Rationality Rules was thoughtful and considerate, even if he wasn't thoughtful enough and didn't do the research. He was genuinely representing, honestly, his position, which he researched based on facts. There's a difference between these two claims. One is bigoted and one is judgmental and bigoted, and the other one is just incorrect. And the ACA was judgmental and bigoted, and Rationality Rules was just incorrect.
So let's try it. No, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of loaded language in that opening virtue signal, pity points, all this other stuff, right? So you're the one sitting here demonizing something for here. But let's take some of these kind of three quotes that took out of the video that a lot of the people that are pointing to it's transphobic and the issue with it. So we got the taker jobs argument, right? So let's we can apply this to the immigrant
can you say
discussion,
the quotes again?
right? Say it again. All right, so the first one I read was, here we have a very real example of a young talented woman losing a potential scholarship and a career to this issue, right? She's not losing it over that by finishing 8th instead of 6th, right? There's numerous institutions that she can make it up through, get scholarships. There's 335 Division I, and Division II, I think there's another 300 schools, which are scholarship schools, and beyond that there's hundreds of thousands more. So she can continue her career and still get stuff there. That stuff's not there. She's not losing out. But what I'm getting here is what we have is a they come to take our jobs kind of argument with immigrants, right? We look at that and we'll say that's even if we can back up the we can form something around an argument, even if there's false premises, right, that lead us to that they're going to take our job stuff, right? We would still recognize that as xenophobic in the case of immigrants, right?
Well, no, I would object to that. So if we let Conor McGregor into a women's division of boxing or UFC, I don't know if they have women's UFC, Conor McGregor is going to win. I mean, even that was admitted by, I forget her name, Ronda Rousey. She said the men's team is physically stronger than the women's team. They're going to win. That is a genuine concern. If you put like a great,
but see, here's the issue that you're getting in with this is not a comparable example to what's being done in the real world. So there's not any, this isn't the thing he's arguing against. And this running to say the Conor McGregor thing instead of dealing with the actual issue and the actual.
What do you mean? What's the difference?
What's the difference?
Yeah.
So you're going out to the Conor McGregor in a women's division argument, right? It's
right.
That's not the transgender woman in women's sports situation. It's not anywhere remotely close to it. It's the rules are in place to recognize this stuff. So you're fear-mongering about the trans woman, not
right. So
actual
so
dude. But no.
I just want to interject a little bit. So rationality rules, that was his position. That's what he believed based on incorrect facts was going on. So the argument he was making is that he saw it like the Conor McGregor example, which if that was the case would be a genuine problem.
I'm sorry,
right?
You cut out there. I missed it all.
All right, so rationality rules saw this problem exactly like the Conor McGregor example. It was incorrect because of his incorrect research, but that's how he saw the problem. And if it was the case that they were comparable, it would be a genuine concern, right?
No, this isn't a comparable discussion about the things. And this was the issue with his video, right? So this is the issue with the research in his video, and it's not going to be, this isn't a discussion about the research in it, but. No, but this is a discussion with his style of argumentation and the research. So when you compare two things that obviously aren't going to be anywhere in the discussion of comparable by a man not on HRT, to a trans, to a cis woman, you make these arguments. But when you're talking about, you're not dealing with the actual facts of the matter. But
well, again, I'm trying to represent rationality rules' position. His position was that the trans woman in the women's division is comparable to Conor McGregor in the boxing division. He thought that was the case. He thought those were equivalent. That was the mistake that he made. And so they are equivalent examples from the perspective of rationality rules when he was making the video, which means it wasn't transphobic. This was a genuine concern based on actual facts that he thought were true at the time. That's why I'm making this comparison, to try and represent his position at the time.
All right. Well, let me get back to the point I was trying to make before we got off on this tangent, right? Because you went and turned, I'm trying to build the ignorance, right? So we can look at, so what I'm getting at with the immigrant and the xenophobic remarks with this kind of stuff, there's information that they think is correct at the time when they come to that stuff. We don't excuse, that bad and faulty conclusion there as not being xenophobic. They come to get our jobs.
I'm sorry, I'm not following. What?
All right. So the first thing, and this is why we get off track, but so here we have a very real example: a young talented woman loses a potential scholarship and career to this issue. Right. In doing this and setting this stage, this is before he's made any argument, so he hasn't presented anything there. He's
it's appeal to emotion, yeah.
Appeal emotion, poison the wild stuff right off the bat for you. So he's setting the stage there to build to a fear-mongering conclusion around it, right? It's not any different than, say, the immigrant example when you get the they've come to take our jobs kind of thing. You from what you're saying about this, or that we shouldn't interpret that as bigoted or transphobic. Or in the immigrant example as xenophobic and stuff, just because they thought this information was true at the time. Well, it doesn't change the effect of this bad conclusion from bad and faulty arguments and stuff like that, and the way he's fear mongering about it. Right? There's and stuff there, and it looks and sounds just like the arguments against immigrants, the arguments if you switched out trans women with black and women for white, in that argument, right? They're the similar kind of conclusions and stuff that are running through there. And, it's
right. They're the exact same
argument. They're distancing themselves from that stuff. It's like, hey, that's not what we stand by, and that's not stuff we hear. And they're the organization. they're well within their right to distance themselves from that. They made the mistake, coming out on it. But I mean, I don't know where else we're going to go on this if we're going to keep going back and forth over whether we're going to call Rationality Rules video transphobic or not.
Well, yeah, I think that's the most important issue. But so you're right that those are the same argument. That the argument made that immigrants are taking our jobs and that the women should be afraid of trans women taking their trophies is the same argument. But you have to make a distinction between, is this argument being made as a genuine based on evidence? Like, does this actually seem like it's the case based on the evidence and that's why you believe it? Or do you believe it just because you're bigoted against trans people? There's a huge difference between those two things, even if they're making the exact same argument. If you genuinely believe this is the case based on the evidence, and being presented with new evidence will change your mind when you have the better evidence, that's the correct way to look at the world. You should follow the belief that has the best evidence whenever you have it, regardless of what that belief is. You should do that. That is the correct thing to do. And so you shouldn't ever punish someone just because they happen to believe something that's wrong.
So this isn't all right. So I think this is where the disconnect here. It's not a matter of believing something's wrong. It's the video itself, right? The video itself is an argument for action. It's different from,
You're quiet again.
I'll say that again.
You're quiet again. Move closer to the mic.
All right. So what? It's not just a belief here and stuff here. So if you came up to me, when the Fallon Fox stuff was going on, and you said, "Oh, look at this trans woman doing this in the ring and stuff there," and it's, I come on, "Oh, I believe this," maybe that shouldn't be the case here. I've ever looked into it. I haven't done any of this other stuff before that here, and I just expressed the belief here and stuff there. This is a prepped video to make the argument for action to disbar and stuff, right? So this is one step beyond just having a belief and arguing to that conclusion, right?
What's the difference?
And doesn't mean that say it again.
What's the difference? Because whenever you have a belief, especially on YouTube, you usually follow it up to say, "I'm right. Here's what we should do about it." Like, that's true of like every YouTube video ever. So the fact, I mean, he's not just going to present an argument and say, "Here's what I kind of believe," and then just stop. I mean, that's just the way YouTube and the news media works, is that you have to make a call to action. You have to be provocative in your language, but you present it in the public, and as long as you're open to criticism, there's nothing wrong with that. And he is. He said he made mistakes. He accepted criticism.
Yeah, and nobody's calling him or I shouldn't say nobody, but nobody's taking that as we're getting back to the distinction. Can we say something transphobic that and not be transphobic and just make the mistake about it? All right, and you're treating and this is what they're saying about the video, and this is the truth they're saying. It's not a condemnation of him there. He clarifies it, and if, with the new information, he corrects it. We move on. It's I don't know.
Right, but the whole
we're stuck here and we're having an argument that wasn't something that this discussion was supposed to turn into. It's turned into some weird thing, but I don't know what else you guys have, but.
Well, I don't know what you mean by the actual issue. Like, to me, this is the issue. The biggest problem is the fact that they, whether intentionally or not, they demonized rationality rules and presented a statement that any rational human being would read and interpret rationality rules is a transphobic, and they shouldn't have had him on the show. That's the problem. That is, they were totally unfair to rationality rules by making that statement in the way they did. Now, what you said that there's some other topic or something else that you wanted to talk about, please bring that up.
I said, if you got anything else, I brought in what the original simple discussion was here, right? And you keep saying demonized and all this other stuff. And, in approaching this, you've given no charity to the organization, what they're doing, and have gone loaded language, everything about that here. But then when it comes to the rationality rules situation, you're pulling back. And I'm arguing it's not the demonization or any of this hyperbolic stuff around this conversation here, right? So
what was that last part?
It's not the all the hyperbolic language and stuff around this specific situation, right? To treat it the way it is,
right. So I'm looking at it at what are the actual effects. Like, you have to give people the opportunity to express their beliefs if they have them based on reasons. You cannot demonize from it. It is absolutely immoral to ever demonize someone for expressing beliefs they have and the reasons they believe them. That is totally immoral. You can't do that.
So what about
You
the
can
effect of the trans people that are affected in the community by the Rationality Rules' video, right? I mean,
affected by Rationality Rules video.
Yeah.
Like how?
For one, they feel unsafe in the community. If you've seen some of the comment sections, I wish I had pulled. There's some things pulled from that very video. Horrific transphobic stuff being said in the comments section about that stuff. When you put that video, so you're trying to say, well, they didn't attend this, but the effect is horrible on Rationality Rules' character and reputation and all that other stuff. But say, screw it to the trans community in the atheist community and secular community with that feel targeted and out by, and you admit Rationality Rules admit bad video. The hyperbolic language you admit here, you're not willing to go all the way and say transphobic, but in all effects, that's what it is to the large trans community here, right? And so arguing with the ACA, that's part of the mission. We stand with the LGBTQ, right? And so this video is the negative effect on that part of the community we stand with. We're gonna apologize for it, right? It's different here if it's modern day debate or non sequitur show, right? When we'll talk about anything, right? You're not holding anything for the rest of the community that you stand by. Right.
So the difference here is that when you're reading the ACA statement, 99% of English readers are going to read that and justifiably come to the conclusion he was a transphobe, because it says Rationality Rules made transphobic videos. 99% of the population watching Rationality Rules video, no one would reasonably come to the conclusion that trans people are bad.
Well, because go read the comment section. Go read the comment section there, bud.
So there are
go read the stuff that's been said to the people that have, Godless Cranium's YouTube channel, the comment sections he's getting just for giving a fair summation of what went on, right? And
yes, there are some bigots who will use confirmation bias to find things they want, to interpret it the way they want to justify their bigoted conclusion. But that isn't the majority of people. The majority of people read the ACA comment because it is so obvious when it says Rationality Rules made transphobic videos. Any reasonable person can interpret that to mean Rationality Rules is transphobic.
No,
there's a very direct correlation there between the meaning of those words and coming to the conclusion Rationality Rules was transphobic. Watching Rationality Rules video does not lead to the conclusion by the literal interpretations of anything he said that trans people are bad. Nothing he said justified.
We shouldn't fear death of women's sports. It's going to be dominated. All these things that the hyperbolic language that you agree to, right? I don't know. This is some sticking point that they said his videos or statement were transphobic. They don't say he's a transphobe, right? And you're saying, well, they said it's transphobic, so it's there. It's reasonable to read that as they're calling him a transphobe, right? You're bringing things into this that aren't there with this stuff there, right? And
there with this stuff there. Could you clarify?
I'm sorry, with the situation, bringing stuff into that's not with the situation. We're stuck in dead on this point.
Well, right. I understand this is the situation. This is the big problem. They've demonized and thrown Rationality Rules under the bus, whether intentionally or not. That's the big problem here. And it's whether or not is what Rationality Rules, the video he made, was it transphobic and did it deserve this? Or was it not, and was the atheist community of Austin's actions unjustified? That seems to be the two major points of the debate. Was there something else I'm missing?
No, they're standing by their commitments and to their people there. They're the organization there. It's not, you have a disagreement over whether or not it's transphobic as a video, right? But we both agreed that you can say things transphobic without meaning it, right? Without being that, without intentionally doing that. And we're stuck on this. We got off in things we didn't agree, or I didn't agree to, at least in this debate. So I don't know if James wants to go on to questions or what, but we're stuck at a sticking point at this point. And it's just
right, because I don't think that what Rationality Rules did, or allowing him on the show, was in any way against the ACA's what was it?
Mission statement.
Yes, I don't think it was in any way against their mission statement.
I think that I think we'll give you a chance to respond, Red, and then I think given that Red you kicked it off with the conversation, we'll give Tom a quick response after, and then go to the Q&A as quick as we can, just because I think we also said it would probably only be like 50 minutes. So you guys are already sorry we already let you go over time. I hope you're all right with that.
That's okay. You can have the last word. I'm happy to move to
Okay,
Q&A.
you got it. Go ahead, Red.
Yeah. It would be against their mission statement. Someone says something transphobic, whether or not that means he's a transphobe or not, it's not. I don't think so. Fan of his content, like his other stuff. So it'd be inconsistent with their values to have, say, hey, we stand with the LGBTQ community, and we let someone on here who said something transphobic, right? That's the inconsistency. That's the thing they're looking out for, and this is just a simple apology for, making the mistake and letting it get that way. But I've got nothing else on it.
Gotcha. Thanks so much, both of you, for being willing to stay here and dialogue a little longer than expected. We appreciate it. One thing I want to mention is we totally appreciate your questions and your super chats. As mentioned, all super chats 100% will be going to Cure Alzheimer's Fund, which we've linked them in the description, and we've also linked the charity Watchdog that's done a review of them. That way you can know that they're held accountable, that they actually use the money for research toward Alzheimer's, curing Alzheimer's. So if you want to check out both the review of the charity by that charity Watchdog as well as the charity itself, they're linked below. As well as all the speakers. Godless Engineer, thanks so much for your help moderating. I'm going to send all of the questions over to you via Twitter right now in your DM, and then we will take turns reading them off. And in terms of our next portion, I think we originally said maybe 15 minutes. Debaters, are you guys both good for about 15 minutes of Q&A yet?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Thanks so much.
Sure.
Totally appreciate that. So I'll read off the first one, and then Godless Engineer, once you get them, which you should get any second, you can we'll alternate. So thanks so much for your help. All right. With that, thanks so much for your super chat, Brian Stevens. We really appreciate it. He said, "Thank you, James. Thanks for your support. We appreciate you being here." And he said, "Question for Mod: what is a good amount of daily push-ups to work up to?" He's talking to Godless Engineer. He wants to be as, you got that barrel chest, Godless Engineer. They see that you got that powerful masculine torso. So you can let him know, what's the ideal amount of daily push-ups, Godless Engineer?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I don't do push-ups at all usually. So, I have 40-pound weights that I lift on occasion, but so I do normally I'll do like 12 to 14 reps, and then I'll work on the way down from there, taking 2 off every time.
I like it. He doesn't do push-ups. He pushes the world down. All right. So next one, go ahead, Godless Engineer.
All right, this one comes from Jay's school account, super chat that just says, "Let's get it rolling."
Thank you, Jay's school account, for pointing out how unpunctual we are. But thanks for your gift to the Alzheimer Cure Fund. Stephen Steen, he said, "Well, since James isn't getting it, here we go." Thanks for that donation to the Cure for Alzheimer's. We appreciate that, Stephen Steen.
Then we got Stephen Steen again with the super chat saying, "You're not racist, just everything you say is. Not great logic."
Well, that's a straw man of what's being said here. We're talking about one specific statement. Right? I don't know.
Go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. It's
It's
just what it is. It's meant to be glib, and it's just done.
You got it. Thanks for your response and for that super chat. Next up, Sigifredo Sarabia, thanks for your super chat. Said, "Wouldn't both sides be no if they're not liberals?" I'm confused by that. If they're not liberals, wouldn't they both say no? I'll let you guys respond.
I have no idea what he's trying to ask.
So my position is the no position, right? So I think he's saying that You're fascist because you're trying to be judgmental or something? He's saying one of us is wrong to hold our position because we're not real liberals. I don't know which one of us.
Godless engineer, the floor is yours.
Okay, let's see. Oh, Steven Steen again with the super chat saying another $2 for not James.
Wow, you really enjoy this, Stephen. Very nice. Let's see. Then, Sigifredo Sarabia, thanks for your donation as well to the Alzheimer's Cure, who said both think trans will ruin girls' sports, and then capital transphobic.
So both think trans will ruin
I
transporters?
think he's saying both of you. I could be wrong.
I don't think that at all.
I haven't researched it at all. I have no position on the topic.
So I don't.
Gotcha.
All right, and then we got Steven Steen with another super chat saying this is somehow less cringy than last night.
There he goes.
What was last night?
It was Monday night, Steven. Smart, Alec. Monday night was Bionic Dance against the Distributist on whether or not atheism or Christianity would be best for the West. Everybody's a critic. I loved it. So, next one. Steven Steen. Oh, enough of Steven. All right. Sigifredo Sarabia, thanks for your donation. He says, what's rational about being atheist when the individuals did not decide on what advantage nature gives them, and so RR is wrong if he agrees trans should not be allowed to quote-unquote express themselves in atheism? Tom?
I mean, I don't
Is that
think
a question or
atheism...
is that a statement?
Yeah, definitely. I'm not sure. Let's see. So I think I'm trying to interpret this. I could be wrong. I think he's like trying to maybe suggest that under an atheistic perspective, if you are consistent, you should be okay with trans people. But so see if that makes sense of this interpretation. I might be wrong.
I think I get it. I think he's making the evolutionary argument survival of the fittest, and the trans people are more fit in the women's sports, therefore they should be allowed to compete or something like that.
I think that might be it.
I don't have a position on it, but
Yeah.
You've left Tom speechless. Thank you for that.
And then let's see, we got Dave Delafiore that says, congrats to Kent Hovind on his third marriage.
Oh, that's right. I left that in the list. Man, why are you guys gonna be so hard on the debaters? Let's see. But nonetheless, thanks for your donation to the Alzheimer's Cure. So next time, he did that twice, by the way. He did it, so appreciate your double donation with that same super chat. Let's see. I don't know if that was on purpose, but appreciate it either way. Sigifredo Sarabia. Oh, we got that one. Flamio says the LGBTQ is against females winning trophies. It was a question, so I think he was saying like he's
trans are actually men, so that if they win the trophies, then it denies the women the right to have the trophies, I think.
Yeah.
Red, what are your thoughts?
I mean, no, they're not. It's kind of weird. It's like he's trying to make the argument that you can put trans women in women's sport as long as they don't win, and if they win, they can't be there, which bad thing around to discuss. It's a stupid position.
Gotcha. And then oh, sorry, this is your turn, Goddess Engineer.
Oh, well, next is just subs, which we've got Mrs. Box and Q's, who subscribed during the stream. So
Thanks.
I guess thank you guys for that.
Thanks for joining us. I forgot, there are two other ones that came in that I didn't put in the list. I'm going to quick read these super chats, and then Godless Engineer, if you can read the questions on the rest of the list. These are new super chats. And I'll read these, and then if you can read those questions from the rest of the list, I'm going to dig up an old super chat that I missed. So one from S.J. Thomason, thanks so much for your donation to the Alzheimer's cure. She said, should trans women compete in women's sports? For all four in the debate.
Yeah, as long as they meet the HRT requirements and stuff that are out there. You know, if you want to have a discussion on where that should be set, that's something you can do. Right now it's 10 nanomoles per liter for 12 months. If you want to argue that it should cut to 5, that's something to discuss. But otherwise, yeah.
I'm gonna go with what he said.
Gotcha.
And I mean, yeah, I think that they should be able to compete in sports, in women's sports or men's sports, however they're transitioning. So,
okay, so I think it's asking, like, forgive me, I might have misunderstood it the first time I read it. So should trans women, forgive me, I'm not good at this terminology, I'll be honest. Trans women, that's talking about a male transitioning to a female, right?
Yep.
Okay, thanks. So a male transitioning to a female, which is, I think, kind of a lot of what R&R's or Rationality Rules' video was about. I'm no expert, but when I listen to Joe Rogan, at least for UFC, there might be challenges associated with where I am concerned there could be potential safety hazards. I'm open to that there's a response to that. I don't want to get down a rabbit hole, but given, so I'll just leave it at that so we don't get bogged down. Xenos Carthage, thanks for your super chat. They said, is cereal a soup? I think that's for you, Tom.
Nope, it's cold. But the ketchup is fruit juice.
Thank you for that. I love how Tom's always so decisive with those questions. But yeah, okay, Godless Engineer, if you could help me out and keep just reading through them indefinitely, I'm going to take a minute and try to just dig through some old files here.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right. So first up, we got Smitty, who's asking, I thought that non-profit super chats, YouTube didn't take a cut. Maybe that's just for a whole channel, but you should look into maybe doing it on a show-by-show basis. And I do know that you can set up super chats to go to a specific charity, and they won't take a cut of it. But I don't know if that's like you're setting it up for the entire channel or if you can set it up per like live stream. But like, for instance, with the Atheist experience and their related shows, all of their super chats and everything are directly piped into the ACA. So like their actual channels don't technically make money. The super chats go directly to the ACA.
Oh, good to know. Thank you.
And then we got Jerami Pace that says, should trans women be allowed to compete in combat sports against non-trans women?
I'm, based on the information I have, I'm still a yes. I think a lot of people look at, I think a lot of people look at, what is it, the Fallon Fox breaking the one gal she was fighting's skull, and look at that as a single instance. I think if you're going to make any argument against, you're going to need a data track of what these injuries are and how frequently they are before you can say, oh no, this one time happened here, we got to get them out. You know what I mean? They have one instance of it and they say, oh nope, can't do it anymore, and with no comparative data to all the other injuries that happen and extreme injuries, how rare they are and stuff like that. So, and people see that and it's a shocking headline. It's, oh, get them out. And when I see, there's no reason to do that at this point. The data's not there to kick them out. So they're in.
Okay. Tom?
I haven't researched the issue to really understand it, so I'd leave it up to people who understand it better than I do.
Yeah.
Okay. Then we got S.J. Thomason saying, Shannon Q posted a blacklist that someone made. I think the progressive atheists. Because I know deeply about this list, it was not Shannon Q that posted the list. It got posted somehow on Twitter, but it was not directly Shannon Q. So that's a little bit. I don't know if maybe SJ just doesn't know that Shannon wasn't the originator of it, but yeah, there was a blacklist that was made in a progressive atheist global group. Huh?
Facebook group.
But, huh?
Facebook group.
Yeah, a Facebook group. So that's what happened, but it was not Shannon that originally posted it.
Was that her whole comment?
I think she was. The way I interpret it is that she's wanting like response on like people's thoughts. I think that, but I could be wrong.
Yeah, I'd say it's the same thing as my intro. It's wrong to demonize people because they have different views than you. You should discuss what those views are openly and why they believe them, and if they're factually wrong, and as long as they're open to critique and changing their position, if you have the better argument, there's nothing wrong with that. You shouldn't like put them on this blacklist of people who you find deplorable. It's just not the mature thing to do.
All right, Red. Any comment on it?
I don't have much on it. I haven't been following Listgate very well. Just kind of sitting around.
Listgate.
That's everything I see up on my Twitter feed about it.
Yeah. All right, and then we got Genius Tracks that says they uploaded clips of him on their shows on their channels after their public statements. Ask Red how. Huh?
And I agreed earlier that was something they shouldn't have done, right? So there seems to be some miscommunication between.
Just to clarify, they uploaded clips of Rationality rules.
Yeah, after they made the statement, right? That was a screw up, right? And it paints all the bad stuff to it goes all against that apology they made, right? So, my take is that there's some disorganization about who controls what goes up and how that's being communicated. So,
one sec. Forgive me for jumping in. There was a super chat that I missed from today's too. I want to just quick read. Atheist Joke Boy, thanks so much for your donation to Alzheimer's Cure. He said, sounds to me that ACA used Rationality rules for his star power, then dumped him when they got backlash.
I mean, the mistakes they made around it, it's, it lends credibility to that argument, but I like to be charitable with my interpretation of the situation. I think, just some miscommunication, right, is probably the best explanation about how to handle the situation before and then after the apology.
You bet. And then one more. This is from the Kent Hovind debate with Destiny. Sorry about cutting in again. This person asked during the Kent Hovind debate, and technically it wasn't about the subject matter. A little bit controversial. If you want your refund for any of your questions from that, I'm serious. We will give you a refund. That's fair. But their question was, Kent, we're just going to have Godless Engineer. There's a rumor that you're Kent Hovind's son, so we'll just have you answer this on his behalf. So, Kent, if morality... I'm just kidding. But he said, no, not really Kent Hovind's son. They said, Kent, if morality is objective, why are there different standards in the Old and New Testament? It's a good question. We'll field that for a Christian next time.
Well, I mean, I could probably answer that on the Christian side.
If you're, let's see. I'll let, if you're willing to give an answer that's charitable, like a straw, or what is it called, a steel man nowadays, I'm okay with that.
Okay, well, I mean, you guys can correct me if I'm wrong or not, but I think typically an apologist response to that would be that the rules and laws were made for a specific time and for a specific people, so that's why those rules don't affect us now, because we're under the new covenant of Jesus, and so that's why it's not, like, I guess, hypocritical for us not to follow the old laws and only follow the new laws. That is what typical apologists would say.
That's an impressive, I think that's a fair and charitable way of framing them. Thank you for doing that. They actually said I read the wrong thing. Gosh, you know. Oh, he says, my question's about upper class athletes. Was it Alexander Ventura? Are you yanking my chain? Or was this a super chat, or was it a? Because this is the only one that I'm This is some sort of tasteless joke. All right. Don't worry. We'll find your question, Alexander. We'll get to it. I didn't see it as a super chat. Sorry, brother. But Goddess Engineer, the floor is back to you. Thanks.
Okay. So we got Timo Naro that says to both Red and Tom, are you claiming hormone blockers affect hemoglobin levels? Blood doping is a thing. Creatine levels, they should be lowered to average biological woman averages to be fair competition.
Well, that's the standard he was mentioning earlier. What's it called? Like the three letters?
What?
Red?
Oh, the nanomole thing? That's
the standard that they use in order to gauge whether or not it's okay to allow trans women into women's sports.
Oh, it's the 12 months below 10 nanomoles per liter. But that's the testosterone level. The hemoglobin thing he's talking about, I don't have the data in front of me on what it is, but this was cited in Essence of Thoughts video, that it does come in line with cis women.
As far as I know, creatine is allowed.
Creatine, I don't have that on me for.
From my understanding, creatine is a totally legal substance to use so I don't think there's any problem with that one.
Yeah.
Okay. Oflamo says, Red Venture, where is their statement about their controversial statement? Where is president of the ACA, Jamie Boone? I don't know if he wants present GPS coordinates or what.
Is he looking for the statement they put out? It's on Facebook on the Atheist Experience. Is that what he's looking for?
Was he asking that? Was he asking that he was expecting them to make a statement about their current statement because they got backlash on that one too, or something?
I don't know. I get maybe because it's a statement about their controversial statement, which they haven't made a statement about their original post.
That sounds like he's quoting a couple of things from the statement that was read, so I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I flubbed them while I was reading them, and he's making fun of me.
I don't know. I didn't take it that way, but Hayward Jeb Lomi says, question for Red: when has the ACA ever apologized to Muslims for any guest that offended the Prophet?
I have no idea. I don't follow the ACA around enough to make any determination on what they've done historically.
Okay.
I don't think they have. I think that's the point he's making.
All right. Iron Charioteer says, ask Red, if someone is depressed and on medication for their depression, should they be allowed to compete in sports?
I mean, they'd get a TUE for the medication if it's banned. I mean, there's TUEs for all sorts of things. So if you're, hormone deficient.
Sorry to interrupt. What's a TUE?
Therapeutic use exemption.
Okay.
So they have a list of banned substances you can't use, but you can use them if it's part of medical therapy and stuff. So this ranges from anything from ADHD medicine to hormone growth deficiencies to, just all sorts of things. So, I mean, there's some people make some arguments about on hormones at all they should be banned, but it's like cis athletes get to use hormones when they're hormone deficient. It's exempted. So
all right. So Timo Naro says to Tom, hormone blockers do little to help with the fact that men are physically bigger, have better bone structure for sports. How to make women's sports fair? Where was RR incorrect?
That's just, I'm going off of his statement where he said he made mistakes. I don't know where he hasn't come out and clarified where he made mistakes. So I'm just going to accept that his statement, he admitted he made some mistakes and he's probably researching more to find out where exactly those mistakes are and to really clarify his point. So I don't know. I haven't researched the issue that much. My position is more just about what the ACA did to him. I haven't researched the actual issue about trans women at all.
Yeah. So Essence of Thoughts video is linked with all sorts of sources that compare trans women on HRT to cis women and stuff. So you want to get that data. I don't have it available to read through and answer any specific thing off my hand. But I mean, that's one place to look. But
yeah, and Rationality Rules is working on an update video for it, and he has updated the title and I believe pinned a comment on the original video talking about how he got a lot of things incorrect. So just to add that in there. Ashtray Jadlow says you should set up a debate between Sky Out and someone that discusses philosophy so they can discuss the pre-sup argument, maybe.
oh, that'd be a nightmare.
I'm not sure. Anyways, next is Utopia Buster 2017. Let's see. Question for T-Jump. As a private organization, does the ACA have the right to organize their membership as they see fit?
Sure.
Right, and kind of what I was getting at with, being consistent with their values, right, and the mission statement that they put forth. We have a disagreement on whether or not the video is actually transphobic, but that's a thing we're going to be butting heads over for a while. I don't think we're getting too far.
My argument isn't about legal rights. I think that legally any private company should be able to do whatever they want, but I think that morally it's wrong to deplatform someone because you disagree with their views.
I mean, but part of it is they got, like I said, the brand and their support for these communities considered too when taking it. It's not something you can give away to something like that. The high and moral, everybody comes on, says whatever and stuff, and expect, get what you want accomplished. So.
All right. And then we've got a question for Red. Should the ACA remove the episodes with RR completely? If not, why?
They should unlist them, right? If they're going to stick by that apology and doing better, should have been unlisted, shouldn't have put the extra clips up, right? So just like I think Rationality Rules should have gone further and unlisted his video until he has his correction out. You make a mistake, you're going to correct it, put it away, and then bring it back in.
Oh, that was it for what you've sent to me.
I was on mute. I know I'm going to get a trillion messages in the live chat saying I was on mute. Sorry about that. That's embarrassing. But we are stoked to have our speakers here. Thanks so much for your time. We really appreciate the speakers and Godless Engineer for helping moderating. So thank you to the speakers and to Godless Engineer.
Thanks for having us on. I really appreciate the opportunity. Thanks for Red for coming on and talking. I really enjoyed our conversation.
You betcha. And their links are in the description. So if you're like, oh snap, look at that Tom Jump dressed up like a bala, well, you can go see more of Tom at his channel, as well as Godless Engineer and Red. So with that, I want to say thanks to your super chats as well, which as promised will be donated in full. Godless Engineer, do I have your word that you can hold me accountable? Namely, I will send you the receipt so that people can see that we fully gave all of the super chat to that. I'll give you, if you want, I can give you my password so you can see the total amount of super chats that came in on the channel as well. So we just want to have full transparency about that. So I'm not worried about you doing anything weird to my channel. I think I can trust you.
I mean, I don't need your password, but I mean, feel free to.
You betcha. So we appreciate it, and with that, so thanks so much, everybody, and it's been a pleasure. This has been really good. I have to say that I hope that it's brought kind of some resolution, and again, there are those things we do agree on, so keep those in mind as well, and don't let the disagreement stop you from being friends. With that, have a good one and take care, everybody.
Oh yeah, I know. I especially Red and I don't know yeah, no, I thought it was a pretty awesome conversation.